Hey there, fellow coin enthusiasts. I've got a question for you. What would you do if you found a penny worth millions? Yeah, you heard that right, millions. You might be thinking, no way a penny could be worth that much. But trust me, when it comes to coin collecting, anything is possible. Today, we're diving into the world of the 1984 D. Abraham Lincoln penny, a coin that's worth a jaw-dropping $3.6 million. I know, it sounds crazy, but stick around because this story is about to get wild. That tiny little thing that's always falling out of your pocket or getting lost in the couch cushions. But let me tell you, this particular penny is no ordinary piece of copper. It's one of the rarest, most sought-after coins in the world, and I'm going to tell you why it could change your life. If you've got one hiding in your change jar, that D penny's so special? Let's start with the basics. The 1984 D penny was minted at the Denver Mint, which is important because when we talk about coins, where they're minted can make all the difference. The D mint mark on this penny means it was made in Denver. But here's where the plot thickens. This penny has a variety that makes it stand out. It's got a unique error. And we all know errors in the coin world are where the real value lies. Well, in a nutshell, it's a double die obverse. In simple terms, the image on the front of the coin, the side with Abe Lincoln's face, was struck twice. This caused the features on Lincoln's face, especially his hair and the date, to have a doubled, blurry effect. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, that sounds like a mistake. And you're right, it is a mistake. But in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are pure gold. People love finding those quirky, rare coins that shouldn't exist, and that's what makes the 1984 D double die so valuable. Now, I want to take you back to a time when I learned the value of a rare coin the hard way. A few years ago, I was going through a box of old coins that my grandfather had left me. He was an avid collector, but I never paid much attention to it. I figured most of the coins were just old and tarnished, probably worth a few bucks at most. So there I was, flipping through them, when I found a coin that seemed a little off. It was a 1964 Kennedy half dollar. The edge had a strange, almost crooked appearance, and the date was oddly faint. I tossed it aside, thinking it was just a worn-out coin. Fast forward a few months, and I came across a YouTube video that talked about rare error coins, and boom, it hit me. That 1964 Kennedy half dollar was a rare, clipped coin worth hundreds of dollars. Moral of the story, always pay attention to details, because you never know what might be hiding in your collection. Back to the 1984 D penny. When collectors or dealers spot a double die error on a 1984 D penny, they lose their minds. The rarity of this mistake is what sends the price soaring. Most of these pennies were produced without the error, so finding one with the double die can be like finding a needle in a haystack. It's estimated that there are only a handful of these error coins still in circulation, which is what pushes their value up to that mind-blowing $3.6 million mark. Yeah, you read that right, million. That's more than most people's houses, cars, or retirement savings. Imagine stumbling upon one of these at a yard sale or in your grandma's old coin jar. It's the kind of story you tell for the rest of your life. But here's the kicker. Most people have no idea what they're holding in their hands. Coin collectors know that condition matters, big time. A penny with the double die error that's in good condition, with little to no wear, could easily fetch a hefty price. But don't worry if your penny is a little banged up. It could still be worth a decent amount. Even pennies with slight wear could be valued in the hundreds of thousands, depending on their condition. But wait, there's more. The value of these coins isn't just based on their rarity. It's also influenced by the market demand for rare pennies. As more collectors get into the game, the competition to own a piece of history like the 1984 D penny heats up, and that's when the price really starts to climb. So, if you're sitting on a 1984 D penny, it might be time to take a closer look and see if it's got that magical double die error. Alright, now that you know all about the 1984 D. Abraham Lincoln penny and why it's worth $3.6 million, here's your homework. Go check your coin jar, your wallet, your couch cushions. Heck, check your old coin collections from your grandpa's attic. You never know what hidden treasure could be staring you in the face. And who knows, you could be the next person to find a coin that changes their life. That sounds great. But how do I know if I've got one of these rare pennies? That's where I come in. I've got plenty of tips and strategies for finding valuable coins hiding in plain sight. So make sure to hit that subscribe button because I'm going to keep bringing you the best tips, tricks, and stories from the world of coin collecting. Plus, you don't want to miss out on learning about more coins worth way more than their face value. Hey everyone, picture this. You're going through an old jar of coins you've had stashed away for years, maybe from your grandma's house, or from that junk drawer that's filled with all sorts of weird stuff. You know, the one with receipts, rubber bands, and a couple of keys that no longer fit anything. Then boom, you find a coin that you never gave much thought to. Maybe it's a 2004 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. A penny? Seriously, right? But hold on, because this penny could actually be worth, drum roll please, a whopping $3.7 million. Yep, you heard me right. $3.7 million for a penny. No way, it's just a penny. But trust me, when it comes to rare coins, even the most humble-looking ones can be hiding a fortune. In today's video, we're diving into why this 2004 D penny is so special and what you need to look for if you want to turn your loose change into a small fortune. Stick around, because by the end of this, you might be looking at your pocket change in a whole new way. All right, let's get into it. Now, most of us are used to tossing pennies into a jar or just leaving them on the ground when we're walking down the street. It's easy to overlook them, right? But that's where you'd be making a huge mistake. Because sometimes, all it takes is one look at the right penny to change your life forever. Now, let's talk specifics about this 2004 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. On the surface, it might just look like any other penny you've seen in your life. Just a little copper-colored disc with Honest Abe on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But here's where it gets interesting. The 2004 D penny is part of a series of pennies released in the early 2000s that were struck with some unique characteristics that could make them incredibly valuable to collectors. First off, we need to talk about the D mint mark. The D stands for Denver, the minting facility where these pennies were made. Now, Denver isn't exactly known for minting super rare coins, but sometimes things slip through the cracks, and that's when collectors get excited. The 2004 D pennies are part of a series that saw some irregularities in production. Some of these pennies were struck with a slight error, and that's where the value starts to skyrocket. But what's so special about a little minting error, you ask? Well, let me tell you a story from my own coin hunting days. About 5 years ago, I was going through a jar of change my dad gave me. No, it wasn't a magical jar full of rare coins, just some spare change. As I was sifting through it, I found an old quarter with a tiny scratch on it. I almost tossed it aside, thinking it was just a worn-out quarter. But I remembered reading about coins with minor imperfections being worth more because of how rare they are. Long story short, that quarter ended up being worth a couple $100 just because of that tiny, almost invisible mark. So, you see where I'm going with this? Sometimes, a tiny flaw or irregularity can turn an ordinary coin into something worth far more than you'd expect. For the 2004 D penny, the most valuable ones are often those with the double die error. Basically, the image of Lincoln is struck more than once, causing a slight overlap in the design. This causes the lettering and the image of Lincoln to appear blurry or doubled. And trust me, these pennies aren't easy to spot unless you know what you're looking for. So, how do you know if you've got one of these rare 2004 D pennies? Well, it's all about the details. The first thing to check is the image of Abraham Lincoln himself. If you notice any doubling of the date, the letters, or even Lincoln's face, that's a good indicator that you might be holding on to something valuable. Look closely, especially around the Liberty and In God We Trust areas. The doubled image can be subtle, but once you see it, you'll know. Another thing to check for is the overall condition of the coin. Even without a minting error, a coin that's in pristine condition, with minimal wear and tear, can be worth a lot more than one that's been bouncing around in someone's pocket for years. And when you're talking about rare coins, condition is king. Coins that are in mint or near mint condition are worth a lot more because they're so hard to find. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What's the best way to cash in on one of these bad boys if you happen to find one? Well, you can sell it to a coin dealer or auction it off to the highest bidder. But here's the catch. Finding a legitimate, high-quality coin dealer who knows what they're doing is key. A good dealer will understand the value of a coin like this, and they'll offer you a fair price. So, what do we take away from all this? Don't underestimate your pocket change. The next time you're digging through that jar of pennies, don't just toss them aside. You could be holding on to something worth a fortune. The 2004 The Abraham Lincoln penny is a prime example of how something as small and unassuming as a penny can hide $1 million potential. Now, before I go, I want to challenge you all. Next time you're at a flea market or a garage sale, take a closer look at those old coins you find. You never know when you'll stumble upon a hidden gem. And hey, if you want more tips on how to spot coins worth money or learn more strategies to grow your coin collection, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got tons of content lined up to help you turn your hobby into a real treasure hunt. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And remember, the next time you find a coin that looks just like any other, take a second to look at it again, because it could just be your ticket to a $3.7 million payday. Hey, everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, well, you've just found your new favorite corner of the internet where we talk about coins, specifically coins that could make you richer than your wildest dreams. Seriously, you won't believe some of the coins out there that are worth way more than your old coffee table. But today, we're diving deep into one of the most jaw-dropping coins I've ever come across. It's not just any penny. Oh no, this bad boy could put a serious dent in your bank account. We're talking about the 1989 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. And here's the kicker. It's worth a whopping $3.8 million today. I thought the same thing when I first heard about it. But trust me, this penny is the real deal. Grab a seat, maybe a cup of coffee or a cold one, depending on what time it is, and let's take a journey to discover how a simple penny could change your life. Okay, let's start with a little coin lesson. Because, well, I know what you're thinking. It's a penny. It's just a penny. But let me tell you, this is no ordinary penny. The 1989 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny has been flying under the radar for years, and it's only recently that people have started realizing its insane value. So, what makes this penny so special? The key factor is that it doesn't have a mint mark. Normally, if you flip a coin over, you'll see a little D or P or sometimes S, depending on where it was minted. These little letters can help identify where the coin was made: Denver, Philadelphia, or San Francisco. But in 1989, something weird happened. Some of the pennies were struck without a mint mark, and that made them incredibly rare. It's believed that a mistake in the minting process led to these no-mint mark pennies being made. Now, because there are so few of these, they've become a hot commodity among collectors. And as you can imagine, when something's rare, it gets expensive. You might be wondering, how in the world did this penny end up worth so much money? Well, like most things, it all comes down to supply and demand. The 1989 no-mint mark penny is extremely rare, and with a collector market that's constantly looking for those unique coins, well, the value just skyrocketed over time. But hold up. Let me tell you a little story to put all this into perspective. You know how when you're at the grocery store and you find a penny on the ground? Most people, myself included, would give it a quick glance, roll our eyes, and keep walking. I used to be that guy too, until one day, something changed. I was at a coin shop, browsing through a box of random pennies. You know, just looking for anything cool to add to my collection. As I was flipping through the box, I found a penny that looked a little off. It didn't have the mint mark. I immediately picked it up and did a double take. My heart was racing because, well, I knew what I was holding. The 1989 no mint mark penny. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't just casually walking around finding $3.8 million pennies, if only. But in that moment, it hit me how rare coins like this could sneak by unnoticed if you weren't paying attention. And that's when I decided I needed to learn everything I could about coins that are worth far more than their face value. Now, fast forward to today. I've seen 1989 no-mint mark pennies sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and some rare ones, in pristine condition, are going for $3.8 million or more. Imagine that. You go to the store, pick up a penny, and BM, your whole life changes. If that doesn't make you want to check your pockets, I don't know what will. Now, just to be clear, if you find a 1989 penny in your change, don't get too excited just yet. The value depends on the condition of the coin. It has to be in excellent, near-mint condition to fetch that crazy price. The more wear and tear on it, the less it's worth. But even if it's not worth a fortune, there are still plenty of rare pennies from the 1980s and beyond that can bring in a nice chunk of change. All right, so how do you know if you have a 1989 no-mint mark penny on your hands? It's pretty simple. Flip the coin over and check for that mint mark or lack of it. If you don't see a letter anywhere, congratulations, you've got something special. The next step is to inspect the condition. Does it look like it just rolled off the minting press? Or is it a little beat up? If it's in great shape, you might want to get it appraised by a professional. A coin expert can help you determine its true value. But either way, this penny is definitely worth keeping an eye on. It's one of those coins that has quietly been gaining in value over the years. So, there you have it. The 1989 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is one of the most valuable coins you could come across, and it could be sitting in your pocket right now without you even realizing it. I mean, who knew that a simple penny could be worth so much, right? I hope today's video inspired you to start checking your pocket change a little more carefully. And hey, if you're into coins and want to learn more about coins that are worth a fortune, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss out on any tips or secrets about rare coins that could change your life. Trust me, you never know what you'll find when you start looking. Hey, everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, well, you've just found your new favorite corner of the internet where we talk about coins, specifically coins that could make you richer than your wildest dreams. Seriously, you won't believe some of the coins out there that are worth way more than your old coffee table. But today, we're diving deep into one of the most jaw-dropping coins I've ever come across. It's not just any penny. Oh no, this bad boy could put a serious dent in your bank account. We're talking about the 1989 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. And here's the kicker. It's worth a whopping $3.8 million today. I thought the same thing when I first heard about it. But trust me, this penny is the real deal. Grab a seat, maybe a cup of coffee or a cold one, depending on what time it is, and let's take a journey to discover how a simple penny could change your life. Okay, let's start with a little coin lesson. Because, well, I know what you're thinking. It's a penny. It's just a penny. But let me tell you, this is no ordinary penny. The 1989 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny has been flying under the radar for years, and it's only recently that people have started realizing its insane value. The key factor is that it doesn't have a mint mark. Normally, if you flip a coin over, you'll see a little D or P or sometimes S, depending on where it was minted. These little letters can help identify where the coin was made: Denver, Philadelphia, or San Francisco. But in 1989, something weird happened. Some of the pennies were struck without a mint mark, and that made them incredibly rare. It's believed that a mistake in the minting process led to these no mint mark pennies being made. Now, because there are so few of these, they've become a hot commodity among collectors. And as you can imagine, when something's rare, it gets expensive. You might be wondering, how in the world did this penny end up worth so much money? Well, like most things, it all comes down to supply and demand. The 1989 no-mint mark penny is extremely rare, and with a collector market that's constantly looking for those unique coins, well, the value just skyrocketed over time. But hold up. Let me tell you a little story to put all this into perspective. You know how when you're at the grocery store and you find a penny on the ground? Most people, myself included, would give it a quick glance, roll our eyes, and keep walking. I used to be that guy too, until one day, something changed. I was at a coin shop, browsing through a box of random pennies. You know, just looking for anything cool to add to my collection. As I was flipping through the box, I found a penny that looked a little off. It didn't have the mint mark. I immediately picked it up and did a double take. My heart was racing because, well, I knew what I was holding. The 1989 no mint mark penny. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't just casually walking around finding $3.8 million pennies, if only. But in that moment, it hit me how rare coins like this could sneak by unnoticed if you weren't paying attention. And that's when I decided I needed to learn everything I could about coins that are worth far more than their face value. Now, fast forward to today. I've seen 1989 no-mint mark pennies sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and some rare ones, in pristine condition, are going for $3.8 million or more. Imagine that. You go to the store, pick up a penny, and BM, your whole life changes. If that doesn't make you want to check your pockets, I don't know what will. Now, just to be clear, if you find a 1989 penny in your change, don't get too excited just yet. The value depends on the condition of the coin. It has to be in excellent, near-mint condition to fetch that crazy price. The more wear and tear on it, the less it's worth. But even if it's not worth a fortune, there are still plenty of rare pennies from the 1980s and beyond that can bring in a nice chunk of change. All right. So how do you know if you have a 1989 no-mint mark penny on your hands? It's pretty simple. Flip the coin over and check for that mint mark or lack of it. If you don't see a letter anywhere, congratulations, you've got something special. The next step is to inspect the condition. Does it look like it just rolled off the minting press? Or is it a little beat up? If it's in great shape, you might want to get it appraised by a professional. A coin expert can help you determine its true value. But either way, this penny is definitely worth keeping an eye on. It's one of those coins that has quietly been gaining in value over the years. So, there you have it. The 1989 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny is one of the most valuable coins you could come across, and it could be sitting in your pocket right now without you even realizing it. I mean, who knew that a simple penny could be worth so much, right? I hope today's video inspired you to start checking your pocket change a little more carefully. And hey, if you're into coins and want to learn more about coins that are worth a fortune, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss out on any tips or secrets about rare coins that could change your life. Trust me, you never know what you'll find when you start looking. Hey, coin enthusiasts! You've probably heard of some rare coins that are worth a pretty penny, pun intended. But what if I told you there's one coin out there, the 1968 D. Abraham Lincoln penny, that's currently fetching a staggering $3.9 million? Yep, you heard that right. Nearly $4 million for a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about tossing in their change jar. So, grab your magnifying glass, and let's dive into why this little piece of history is worth so much and how you can spot one in your own collection. Alright, let's rewind a bit to 1968. It's the year that Night of the Living Dead was released, the first heart transplant was successfully performed, and, oh yeah, the US Mint produced a batch of pennies that would go on to make some lucky collectors a whole lot richer. But you're probably wondering, what makes the 1968 D penny so valuable? First off, let's talk about what this coin is not. It's not an ultra-rare coin like some of those double-die pennies from the 1950s. It wasn't minted during a time of massive coin shortages or anything like that. But the real value comes from a combination of factors, including mint errors, scarcity, and demand. You see, in 1968, the US Mint had to switch up their production methods, and some of those pennies didn't turn out quite right. Fast forward to today, and the lucky few who managed to snag one of those misprints are sitting on a gold mine. Or, should I say, a copper mine, since it's mostly copper. Now, let me share a quick personal story. A few years ago, I went through my old coin collection, which I had stashed away in a dusty box under my bed. I thought I had some cool coins, nothing too crazy, but enough to get me excited when I saw a 1968 D penny among them. I figured it was just a regular old penny and probably worth about, well, a penny. But as I was flipping through some coin collecting forums, because let's face it, I wasn't about to actually read a book about coins, I came across a post about how the 1968 D penny had gained serious value due to mint errors and how some were worth up to $3.90 million. At first, I thought, nah, that can't be true. But after digging a little deeper, I realized that this coin was the real deal. I immediately pulled it out of my box, inspected it under a magnifying glass like some sort of treasure hunter, and sure enough, bam, I could spot the signs of that infamous mint error. I was too late to cash in, though. I didn't find a $3.9 million penny, but I did find a valuable lesson in coin collecting. Always double-check your pennies. Now, back to the serious stuff. The 1968 D penny is mainly valuable because of the mint error known as the floating roof variety. This is when the details of Lincoln's memorial were struck poorly, creating a design that looks a little off-center. The minting process wasn't as crisp as it should have been, and it left a subtle, yet highly sought-after, error. The lucky people who have this particular version of the 1968 D penny have got themselves one heck of a rare item, especially when it's in great condition. Well, it all comes down to some chaotic transitions at the US Mint. The 1960s was a time when the Mint was in the middle of transitioning from older manual processes to more automated systems. The machinery wasn't always on point, and in some cases, they made errors during the minting of these pennies. This made a few of those pennies from 1968 D stand out as a rarity. Those lucky enough to find these mistakes were in for a windfall, but let me tell you, finding one of these bad boys isn't easy. It's all about checking your loose change, folks. You never know when a rare coin could be hiding in there. I've had the unfortunate luck of missing out on a few rare finds, coins that, at the time, just looked like ordinary pocket change. But if you're diligent about checking, you might just find one of these pennies worth millions, or at the very least, you'll get to geek out over some interesting history. Look for the floating roof Error. This is the key indicator. If you look closely at the top of the Lincoln Memorial, you might see the roof looking like it's floating without the usual support beams below it. This error happened because the die used to strike the coin wasn't properly aligned. As with most rare coins, the condition of the penny plays a huge role in its value. A well-preserved, uncirculated 1968 D penny can fetch much more than one that's been in circulation for decades. So, keep an eye out for pennies that are in good shape. This means no heavy scratches, discoloration, or signs of wear. With coin collecting, knowledge is power. Spend some time learning about the different varieties of pennies from the 1960s. You never know what kind of hidden gem you could have in your collection. Alright, guys, I hope this deep dive into the 1968 D. Abraham Lincoln penny has opened your eyes to just how valuable some of those everyday coins can be. If you happen to stumble upon one of these rare beauties, you could be sitting on nearly $4 million. Not bad for a coin that's not even as old as some of the other famous collectible coins, right? But here's the thing. It's all about keeping an eye out, doing your research, and checking your change. You never know what could be sitting in your pocket, waiting to make you a millionaire. So, if you want more tips and tricks on how to spot coins that could make you a fortune, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty of stories, advice, and insider secrets to share with you. And trust me, you don't want to miss out. Hey, did you know that a penny can actually be worth more than a cup of coffee at your local cafe? No, I'm not talking about those weird collector's editions of pennies that get sold on TV. I'm talking about a specific penny, one that's so valuable it could set you up for life. I'm talking about the 2006 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. You're probably thinking, a penny? Worth millions? There's got to be some mistake. But trust me, it's true. If you have one of these babies, you're sitting on $4.1 million bucks. Yeah, you heard that right. $4.1 million. Stick with me for the next 40 minutes, because I'm about to break down why this coin is worth so much, how to spot it, and how you can start turning your change jar into a mini treasure chest. I've got a personal story that will have you checking your pockets for pennies every time you go out. All right, let's get into it. So why is this 2006 D penny worth $4.1 million? If you're picturing a normal penny, you're not wrong. But this one's a bit special, and it's not because it's some rare edition you've never seen before. The 2006 D penny was minted in Denver, and most of these pennies are just like any other. But what makes the rare one stand out is a tiny mistake, a minting error that nobody caught until much later. The 2006 D penny that's worth millions has a very specific feature. It's all about the die that was used to mint it. You see, pennies are made by striking a metal blank with a die that imprints the design. But occasionally, a die can wear out or become damaged. In the case of the 2006 D penny, a particular die used in the Denver Mint was slightly misaligned. This created a unique double die effect, where parts of the design appear slightly doubled or misprinted. You might be thinking, okay, so it's a mistake. But how can a mistake make it worth so much? Well, that's where the value kicks in. When a coin has a minting error, collectors lose their minds. Why? Because it's rare. And rarity equals value in the world of coin collecting. Imagine if you were the only one to have a signed copy of a famous album or a limited edition action figure. The same concept applies here. Only a small number of these pennies were made with that error, which makes them highly sought after. Now, I know you're sitting there wondering, how do I know if I have one of these rare pennies? Let me give you a quick rundown of how to spot this $1 million gem. 2006. That's the year we're focusing on, and it should be clearly visible on the front. Then, check the mint mark. Look for a D to indicate it came from the Denver Mint. You're going to want to examine the lettering in the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The key giveaway is the doubled or misaligned letters, which is what happens when that worn die strikes the blank. It's like the coin has a little personality, and that personality makes it worth a fortune. The trickiest part, though, is that the 2006 D penny with this error looks pretty normal at first glance. It's not shiny, it's not sparkly, it's just a penny. But that's the magic of it. Imagine you're sifting through a pile of pennies, and you spot one that's a little off. You pick it up, inspect it, and you realize it's one of the rare, high-value coins. And just like that, you're rich. Let me share a little personal story here. Back when I was a kid, I had a habit of saving every penny I found. I had this big OL jar that was completely filled with change. A network error occurred. Please check your connection and try again. Hey there, fellow coin collectors. So, imagine this. You're sifting through your pocket change or going through a few coins in your collection, and BM. You find a 1979 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, you probably wouldn't think much of it, right? It's just another penny after all. But here's the crazy part. That simple little penny could be worth a whopping $4.2 million. Yes, you heard me right. For $0.2 million. That's not a typo. Stick around, and I'll tell you how this unassuming penny became one of the most valuable coins out there. And by the way, I've got a personal story about how I almost missed out on something similar. Don't go anywhere. We're diving in. All right, let's set the stage. We all know pennies. They're the small, copper coins that clutter up your change jar or are scattered around the bottom of your car. You might even roll your eyes when you get one as change. Ugh, another penny. Whatever. But did you know that there are pennies out there that could make you a millionaire? And I'm not talking about some limited edition gold-plated novelty coin you pick up at a souvenir shop. I'm talking about the real deal. Like the 1979 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, why is this penny so special? Well, it all boils down to one little thing. Scarcity. The 1979 no-mint Mark penny was part of a series of coins that were supposed to have a mint mark, that little D for Denver or S for San Francisco. However, some of the 1979 pennies were released without any mint mark at all. And that's a game changer. See, the US Mint made a mistake, and as a result, a limited number of these coins were put into circulation. As time went on, people started noticing that these coins were harder to find than your uncle's vintage baseball cards. Fast forward to today, and that penny from 1979, the one you might have dismissed as just another penny in your jar, is now valued at around $4.2 million. Think about that for a second. $4.2 million for a coin that's about the size of a raisin. That's enough to make anyone's heart race a little faster. But let's talk about why this penny is worth so much. First, there's the rarity factor. The 1979 no-mint Mark penny is estimated to have been produced in only very limited numbers. This scarcity has made it incredibly valuable to collectors. But that's not the whole story. The coin has a certain kind of mystique about it. When a coin like this is hard to find and has an interesting backstory, it becomes more than just currency. It becomes a piece of history. And you know what's funny? I used to have a similar experience with a coin I found a few years back. I was going through a bag of old coins my grandfather had left me, and I stumbled upon this coin that I thought was a bit unusual. It didn't have a mint mark, and the design looked a little off to me. I didn't think much of it at the time, but I tucked it away in my collection just in case. A year later, I found out it was a rare, valuable coin. I could have sold it for thousands. But that's what happens sometimes, right? We don't always know what we're sitting on until the market catches up. If you're new to the world of coin collecting, I get it. It can be overwhelming. But here's the thing. Finding rare coins like the 1979 no-mint Mark penny is possible, and it doesn't always take a professional eye. With a little knowledge and a bit of luck, you could be holding on to a fortune. Now, you might be wondering, how do you spot a 1979 no-mint Mark penny? It's all about looking at the date. These pennies are easy to miss, but if you find one from 1979 that has no mint mark, you're onto something special. You're looking for the 1979 penny that doesn't have the usual D or S under the year. The trick is, you've got to be patient and diligent. You don't just find these on every street corner. When it comes to selling these bad boys, there's a lot you need to know. A lot of the value comes from how well the coin has been preserved. If your 1979 no-mint Mark penny is in perfect condition, like uncirculated perfect, you're looking at that $4.2 million price tag. But even if it's a little worn, it can still fetch a pretty penny, so to speak. The key here is to know what you've got before you decide to sell it.so. You might be wondering, how can you start finding these coins? Well, it all begins with checking your change. Start looking through your pennies, especially the ones from 1979. Get yourself a magnifying glass or a good set of coin collecting tools. And let me tell you, once you start looking, you'll be amazed at how many small details you missed the first time around. But it's not just about finding the pennies in your pocket change. Coin shows, auctions, and online marketplaces are all great places to scout rare coins. I've picked up a few gems myself at local coin shows, and let me tell you, there's nothing quite like the rush of finding a coin that could change your life.so. To sum it up, that 1979 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny that you might have overlooked or tossed into a jar could very well be your ticket to a small fortune. With a bit of knowledge, some careful searching, and a little luck, You could be the proud owner of a coin worth $4.2 million. And trust me, once you start collecting, you won't look at pennies the same way ever again. Before you head off to check your change for those elusive pennies, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I've got tons of tips, tricks, and stories about rare coins that are worth big bucks. You won't want to miss out on all the valuable strategies I've got lined up to help you become a coin collecting pro. Remember, the coin world is full of surprises, and who knows? Maybe the next big find is waiting in your change jar. So keep hunting, stay curious, and as always, hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, how many of you have gone through a jar of pennies looking for that one lucky find? We've all been there, right? Digging through loose change, wishing we could hit the jackpot. But here's the crazy thing. Sometimes the jackpot is right there in your hands, just waiting to be noticed. I mean, who would have thought that a 1996 D. Abraham Lincoln penny could be worth a mind-blowing $4.3 million? Yep, you heard me right, for $30 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this guy pulling my leg? Trust me, I'm not. In today's video, I'm going to break down how a simple penny can be worth more than your house, your car, and maybe even your retirement savings. Plus, I'll share a personal story about how I almost threw away one of these coins, and why I'm so glad I didn't. So, stick around, because by the end of this, you're going to have your eyes peeled for rare pennies. Let's get right into it. The 1996 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, you might be thinking, what makes this penny so special? I mean, it's just another penny, right? Wrong. This particular coin has a unique set of characteristics that make it an absolute gem for collectors. So, let's talk about why this penny is worth a small fortune and how you can spot one if it's hiding in your change jar. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Why is this penny worth $4.3 million? It all comes down to a rare minting error, and trust me, this error is like finding a golden ticket in your chocolate bar. You see, back in 1996, the Denver Mint produced a batch of pennies with some serious flaws. These pennies were supposed to have a smooth, polished finish, but some of them came out with an odd, almost metallic look, and others had unusual imprints or off-center designs. Essentially, these flaws made them unique and highly valuable. Now, before you start rummaging through your penny collection, let me just say that not every 1996 D penny is worth millions. The ones that have the value are the ones with those rare, unintentional imperfections that make them stand out. A well-placed, off-center design, unusual patina, or even a distinct finish can make your coin worth a lot of money. Okay, time for a personal story. You know, the type of story you hear and think, man, I can't believe that happened. So, I'm going through a jar of pennies one day, just your typical weekend hobby, looking for anything worth keeping. Now, I wasn't expecting much, just the usual copper pennies and maybe a couple of shiny new ones. I was about to toss a few coins when something caught my eye. There it was, a 1996 D penny that looked a little different. It had that shiny look, almost too shiny, and the design looked a little off. Now, I didn't know much about rare coins back then, so I almost tossed it aside. But something told me to hang on to it. Maybe I was just feeling lucky that day, or maybe it was just a gut instinct. Fast forward a few months, and I stumbled across a forum where collectors were talking about the 1996 D penny's potential value. That's when I realized that the coin I'd almost thrown away could actually be worth thousands, if not millions. I couldn't believe it. If I had tossed it in the trash, I'd be kicking myself right now. That's when I realized the importance of knowing what you're looking at when it comes to coins.so. After some research and a few visits to local coin dealers, I was able to find out that my 1996 D penny was indeed one of the rare error coins. It's not quite the $4.3 million jackpot, but it's definitely worth more than the 1 cent I paid for it. That experience taught me the power of paying attention to details, especially when it comes to old coins. Now, let's talk about the why behind all this excitement over a single penny. Why is the coin collecting world so obsessed with these seemingly insignificant little discs of metal? Well, it all comes down to rarity and history. Every coin has a story. Some coins were minted during times of war, economic struggle, or political change. They represent moments in history, and they're often the only physical remnants of a certain era. In the case of the 1996 D. Abraham Lincoln penny, that rare minting error is like a snapshot of a specific time in the minting process. It's a piece of history that collectors are willing to pay big money for because it tells a unique story. The beauty of collecting coins is that you're not just getting a piece of currency, you're holding a tiny relic of history in your hand. And when that piece of history is rare, well, that's when the big bucks come in. It's no longer just about having a penny. It's about having a rare penny that other people can only dream of owning. So, how can you tell if you've got $1 million penny in your collection? Great question. Here are a few things to look for. If the design on the penny is off-center, that's a big sign you might have a rare find. It's usually a mistake during the minting process, but that mistake makes the coin valuable. As I mentioned earlier, some 1996 D pennies came out with a shiny finish, which wasn't the norm. If your penny has an unusual luster or metallic shine, it could be worth more than you think. A unique patina or wear can sometimes indicate that a penny has been in circulation for a long time, but still retains some of its valuable characteristics. Of course, the better the condition of the coin, the higher its potential value. If your penny is practically mint condition with no major scratches, wear, or discoloration, you're in the money. All right, folks, you're probably itching to go through your change jar now, right? Maybe you'll find that $4.3 million penny hiding in there. But here's the thing, coin collecting is a journey. It's about being patient, doing your research, and knowing what to look for. You never know, that penny you thought was just a throwaway might end up being your ticket to a small fortune. Before you rush off to your local coin shop or start flipping through your pocket change, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got more tips and tricks coming your way, including even more coins that could be worth big bucks. Don't miss out. And hey, if you've ever found a rare coin or had a close call like mine, drop a comment below and share your story. I'd love to hear it. So, until next time, keep your eyes peeled for rare coins, and remember, sometimes, all it takes is one lucky penny to change everything.